we are seeing some blood in the streets in the crypto world. Markets look relatively calm in the TradFi world. There's inflation data, there's jobs data, there's data everywhere. And that's all the market cares about right now. So we're going to get into all of that data and much more on today's show. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We're a couple of guys who love following the markets, leaning slightly bearish at the moment. But you know what? We're going to try to give you as objective of an opinion as possible. So do your own research before making any buys or sells. Kev, we got PPI data today. It came in just a hair under expectation, which is a positive. We haven't been getting a ton of positive these days. Jobs data, new jobless claims actually were over expectation, which shows that the job market might be tightening up a bit. So that also could be positive. However, markets are relatively calm in the TradFi world. We have everything between, Dow is getting beat up the most. That's down about 0.7%. We got NASDAQ up about 0.5%, SPY down about 0.15%. So we see some tech companies rallying today, Google, Amazon, Netflix, Meta. They're having strong days. But for the most part, it's pretty boring. And it feels like, and we were talking about this before the show, our upside is so capped right now. And the downside is definitely not. So I think the market is starting to price in the fact that there's not a ton of upside potential. It is mainly downside risk at this point.
Yeah, again, if most people are sidelining cash, again, big institutions, how the hell is the market going to go up? Like, again, you can keep buying into this resistance, but there's a sell wall right there for every single indice. Like, as soon as you get to that level, you're lucky if you get 20 minutes above that resistance. Then you're just going straight back underneath. And it's just crazy to me that people buy into resistance. Like you said, there's way more room for, downfall than there is for a rise up. It's the markets are extremely overbought. And again, we're seeing low volumes. I don't see a way where buying into resistance ever works out. Let me unmute you for a sec.
There you go. Oh God, here we go. I muted myself because there was some background noise. I was trying to do the right thing. I screwed it up. Anyway, when I say that there's the downside risk, what is really going to help move us to the upside right now? Everything is data dependent. Everything is focused on inflation, on what the Fed is going to do with rates. And at this point in time, there's not much that can cause them to, the data we're getting is not going to cause them to be like, okay, time to pivot and time to cut rates. And even then, historically, as we've said 100 times before, that usually is when some of the bigger falls happen. So we're looking at a situation where if they're going to cut rates, it's probably in the near term, it's probably because something really bad happened, in which case the market's probably already crashed anyways. So I do not understand people who are bullish right now and are telling you to go out and put money into this market. Once again, not financial advice. I'm more than happy to just patiently wait and see what happens next, because the return you're going to get on your money right now to the upside potentially is so small compared to the blood that you could see if things really go the direction that we think, and a lot of other smart people, much smarter than me, think they'll go as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're obviously in a trend to the downside, at least in the crypto markets. If TradFi, we can take a look at, we're just kind of like that top-ish resistance level. But when we look at crypto, we've made a move to the downside. We're seeing the blood today, and people keep buying this up here. It's like, okay, just let the structure play out. Like, it's going down. It's going to bounce up again, sure. But is the upside going to be, extreme? No, because if you're buying on the way down and it's still pushing down, who's going to buy on the way up at this point? We saw tons of resistance to that $31,000 level. We're seeing that every time people buy into resistance, it's just an absolute sell wall. Like, every time, just these orders keep getting just sold nonstop. And are people just not going to acknowledge the fact that there's liquidity that's all over the fucking charts right now? There's tons of liquidity that, the price is just going to drive right to. There's a lot of people who are just using leverage. They're not going to get rich at this point. And the upside is absolutely limited for the time being. Again, we're looking at this as a macro level, applying it to how the price is going to react over the next few months. But for me, I keep saying this, but I think we're in 2008 all over again, where we're going to see probably a pretty massive dip pretty soon, whether it's the end of this month or it's next month. Then we'll see a little bit of a rally into like September, October, and then we'll probably see another dip again. That's probably going to be absolutely catastrophic. That's if it plays out that way. Again, that's my play right now, just looking at the charts. But you know, even if it does rally a little bit, it's not going higher than where we just were. It's going to be a corrective wave that's going to go right back into the impulsive one straight down. So people buying into this and expecting this to, go up to the upside infinitely, good luck. You're probably going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I agree with that. We haven't talked much about earnings this week because there hasn't been as busy of a week in earnings, but one that came out yesterday that has seen an absolute move to the downside in a big way is Disney. Now, to me, Disney is down at this moment 8.7% on the day. Earnings came in okay. They didn't see as much growth in subscribers. I don't think by no means is any one stock the end all be all, right? However, I do view Disney as being a very, reliable barometer for the strength of consumers. Because Disney at this point owns intellectual property and companies that affect like the majority of types of people, right? You got kids, obviously. You got, the Star Wars franchises, Marvel franchises, blah, blah, blah. All these different things. They own ESPN now. So if I'm seeing problems with Disney where they're not meeting goals, and we're also kind of aware of the fact that like consumers are not in as healthy of a place, it to me screams that like there's still a lot of problems out there. Like Disney is a historically a very strong stock, and for it to see a move like this tells me that consumers are not going to be spending as much money. They're going to see more losses in the future. One thing we haven't talked about as it relates to the market is, and this is like kind of going, but this is like the stuff when you think about, and I'm just kind of going crazy here, is like the issues like air traffic controllers and how that whole situation is playing out, and how that means that there are going to be less flights, and flights are going to be more expensive. And guess what that hurts? Inflation. And guess what the Fed cares about? Inflation. And guess what a lot of these, these companies need? Tourism to help drive their, like, there's so many compounding things going on right now that have me continuing to be bearish. We haven't even talked about the fact that we still don't know if there's going to be a resolution with the debt ceiling. Like,
I was just about to say,
good Lord, like hold on to your cash, bury that in the backyard if you need to, or convert it to gold and go hide it somewhere, because there's just like every red flag should be up right now.
Oh yeah, 100%. Again, like Disney is a pretty big indicator because
let's just change the name of this show to the Bad News Bears, and we can be a little bit more descriptive with the title of it. Okay,
we should have fucking done that. That was a perfect title. Even in a bull market, we're gonna be bearish. Just like, oh yeah, we're bullish right now, but in about 6 months, fuck all of you guys. But but with Disney, parents usually take care of their kids, right? It's like, oh, I want to see Bambi. Parents are like, no, the fucking deer dies or his mom dies or something happens. They're just like spoiling things.
Spoiler, come on.
You don't need Disney anymore. That was like 70 years ago. True. Last time that happened, we got it was like between a Great Depression and a couple of wars. But anyways, it just, people aren't spending money on things they don't need necessarily. Like I think you were talking about it a few months ago, how you're, canceling some of your subscription services. I certainly have. I got rid of Hulu and Shudder. I don't need it. You know what I mean? I'll buy it back in the bull run, but for the time being, just save cash, on hand. I think that's what a lot of consumers are doing because, sure, it's what, like $7.99, but over the year, it adds up. Maybe it's
up to like $13-14 a month.
Is
now,
it really?
Like that stuff. Yeah,
wow.
Like those all those subscription services are adding up. And
Netflix, I know, is expensive as shit.
They're going to have to keep raising prices because guess what? The expectation is that revenue goes up quarter after quarter, year after year, and they will do what it takes to do that. Whether it's cutting costs, whether it's increasing price to the consumer, they're going to keep doing that because they have a mandate. They have a fiduciary responsibility. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these companies put the douche in fiduciary. So with that being said, let's move on. We're going to talk about some stocks today.
Sure.
It's an interesting time in the stock market. Once again, we're going to take off our bearish hats for a second. We're going to go bullish, but it's going to be long term. Okay, so think past this year.
Yeah.
So you tend to spend more time on the crypto side. I tend to spend more time on the stock side. When I'm looking at growth stocks, a multi-year, holding, there are a few things I'm looking for. Obviously, one of them is going to be an emerging industry. So, some of the bigger ones right now, AI, electric vehicles. Those are where a lot of people are looking for growth stocks. I then also want to look at emerging markets as well, because in my opinion, when it comes to, I'll also include blockchain in there. Blockchain, obviously, an emerging one. But
Yeah.
when it comes to some of these emerging technologies, emerging industries, I also want to look at emerging markets as well. So we see some of the bigger ones right now: India, Turkey, Brazil, China, still even. There's a lot of opportunity there. So I kind of went through and I focused mainly on AI and mainly on electric vehicles. And a few came to mind in AI, and I was looking here more at India than just about any other country, because I think India has so much potential. They've seen great growth, but there's still a lot of room there, especially when it comes to something like AI. A few companies popped out at me. One of them is called, and I love the name of this one, Happiest Minds Technologies. That's one of the AI companies. Another one, Stacksoft. So those are a few of the AI companies that, while researching for this segment, I kind of went toward, because they have some high-ish valuations, but there's still a ton of room to the upside. There are some other great AI companies in India, but their stock prices were crazy high. Their charts were absolutely insane, and I wanted to find a few that were still posting growth, quarter over quarter, but didn't have insane valuations quite yet. And that's how I landed on Happiest Minds and Saxoft.
Nice. Yeah. I definitely think that emerging markets is probably one of the best things to do. I think that's something that a lot of American investors really drop the ball on. It's like
Yep.
the economy is. We look at the global economy, global markets. There's so much money that can be made outside of your country. And again, whether you're doing forex or if you're just like investing in some of these companies, and either through mutual funds, or even if you're like a citizen, like if you have dual citizenship, you have the right to trade in some of these exchanges. So it's really interesting that people don't take advantage of it, because there's definitely tons of room for growth in some of these countries. Like the competition in some of these countries isn't that great sometimes, and you could potentially pick a really big winner and just ride that all the way up, and you could be wealthy in two nations. But yeah, I think that looking to Asia for the time being is not necessarily a bad thing. I would also add Africa. I think Africa is going to be a big
Yep.
player. Again, that's why I'm huge on Cardano. They're huge on developing, banking for, African, citizens of Africa. And I'm talking about like the continent, not like one whole country. But yeah, they're building it out completely. So there's going to be multiple countries, multiple opportunities for banking people who are have never been banked before, creating a digital identity for them. So I think that's huge, and I think that Africa just has so much to offer. And not to get political or anything like that, but Africa does have a lot of tyranny in terms of other nations taking their resources. Right, there is so many like valuable resources in Africa by itself that people who are citizens of these countries, they're absolutely just like working like slave wages, and they're not getting any of the benefits of the resource that they're like absolutely pulling out. Like people work in mines and stuff like that, and they're pulling out diamonds, they're pulling out gold. There's tons of like absolute resources that Africa has, but they're not necessarily seeing the full benefits of it. Hopefully there's a point where we can start to see some of that kind of like bleed out to the point where the country itself starts to take value in some of its natural resources. And I think that could be beneficial for the entire continent. So Africa, Asia, I think those are two huge emerging like markets that people are emerging places, you want to put money or have some exposure to. That's personally something that I would definitely be doing if we're thinking long term, like next 10, 15 years.
Yeah, and once again, not to get political, but if we look at the landscape here in the U.S., what we have coming up in the next election,
I know, man.
I'm not too confident in the current high-ranking officials in the U.S. government to really be the people who are driving innovation forward and help us keep up with the rest of the world. So please, do some homework, take some time, look up some companies outside of the U.S. to diversify your portfolio if you're mainly focused in the U.S. On the EV side of things, I found a few kind of all over the world. So one of them is a Chinese company. I know some people don't like to invest in China, but as far as I can tell, this one isn't owned by the Communist Party. So just get over it. Li Auto, Li. So they are an EV company in China. Only been around for a few years. They've seen some great growth, but there's still a lot of juice left to be squeezed out of this one.
Juice.
I think that
I love it. Love juice.
Me too. So I think there's still potential in this one. I want to, a big better in the middle class in China in the coming decades. I think that that's going to continue to grow, and they're going to be more successful, and they're going to be, spending on things like electric vehicles. While the middle class may be dying in the U.S., it's definitely expanding in some of these emerging countries. So there's one. Allegro Microsystems is another one. They're actually based in the U.S., out of New Hampshire. They have great ratings across the board. They are focusing on magnetic sensing and power management chips. So another one of those companies where they're not actually building the cars, but they are building the the parts to help these things go and help make sure that they keep running. And that's definitely going to be needed as we see the big companies like Ford and GM have a greater emphasis on EVs. They're going to need these component parts. So that is another one. And then lastly, Sigma Lithium. We all, at this point, if you've looked at EV cars at all, you know that lithium stocks are, very highly sought after. A lot of them are a little bit overvalued relatively. I think Sigma is one that, once again, still more juice to be squeezed out of that. So those are the three that I had for EV bets: Li Auto, Allegro Microsystems, and Sigma Lithium.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think the one that you brought up from New Hampshire is a great thing to bring up. It's, we always think of EV or some of these other markets in industries is like, okay, Tesla, let's buy a Tesla, and that's all we know for EV. There's things that go into it, and then obviously if there's supply and demand, if Tesla does well, these other ones are going to do extremely well too, because they need some of these parts to build and to produce these vehicles. So it's definitely good to be a little bit ahead of the game. I think like that one might be an absolute winner if we're thinking like long term. So if there's ever going to be a need for that, which most likely there's going to be, because Tesla's doing the self-driving functions that are probably going to be coming in the next 10 to 15 years, those pieces and parts and stuff like that are going to be absolutely vital to making them also improve their tech. So I think that's a huge win, and that's probably something that a lot of people might not necessarily be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I want to say as well, like when it comes to AI and electric vehicles, like obviously, like the mega tech, Google with AI, Tesla with electric vehicles, I understand that there's value there and they're probably going to see growth. However, what I'm looking for when I'm looking at a true growth stock is bigger multiples. Like I want to see something, I was right place, right time with Nvidia back in the day. We've seen some big multiples there. I was early on Tesla when it was going for $40 a share back before it it split. So, I'm looking for the 20 to 50x here. Those are not easy to find. You have to do a lot of homework. Maybe I've done the right homework, maybe I haven't, but I'm going to take a few swings here on some of these. And over the next decade, if one of them turns into something big, I'll take that win rate.
Definitely. It's kind of funny how TradFi is so hard to get a 25 to 50x, but you could buy some fucking coin with a frog on it, or just print money out of thin air because we're the US government.
Yeah, we're crypto bros, and
Crypto bros, exactly.
God, that video. If we're talking about frog coins, Pepe is seeing a big old pullback today. We had we can get into crypto for a little bit if we want. We got time. I don't know if you saw Coinbase like put out an email basically saying like a lot of stuff about the Pepe token and Pepe the frog. They have since retracted that, but that does not matter because the price of Pepe is absolutely dumping. Do you want to hear, because I know that I paid more attention to this than you, do you want to hear the name of the latest shitcoin out there?
I want to hear the name of every shitcoin that's out there because I know some are going to make me giggle.
Okay. Well, this one is called Harry Potter. Hold on. Where is it? Harry Potter Obama Sonic 10 Inu.
What a great name. What's the ticker?
Bitcoin. They have the actual ticker BITCOIN.
That's the best part.
Yeah. It's incredible that no one actually owned the ticker Bitcoin. It was just always been BTC, but here it is, this random token. And I'll be very honest with you, Kevin, and no, you should not buy this token. I have not bought any. I will not be buying any. Like, they put out an announcement video today when their token was going live, and it was like a minute and a half, and it was actually very well made and quite funny. So I'll drop the link to this, to their page, because it's ridiculous, but man, it sure is funny.
I can't believe that. I mean, I I must be living under a rock because I never heard of Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic, something Inu, also known as Bitcoin, ever in my life before.
Well, let's see, when did they go live? When did they just got on Twitter this week. So there's that. They are very new. Just within, I think they launched in the last 24 hours. So,
Okay.
This is in fact the future of finance. Don't get it twisted here, buddy.
Pretty
So
fucking
yeah,
early. I don't know, man.
pretty
I
gnarly.
don't know.
Um, let's take a minute before we wrap up. Let's look at crypto for a bit here.
Okay.
We see a lot of red on the board. We have Bitcoin fighting to get back over 27, ETH fighting to get back over 1800. What are the charts looking like? Are we overbought? Are we oversold? Let's look at some of your waves, some of your fun lines, all this neat stuff.
Yeah, man, it's really stupid out here. I'll just be honest. Like people are just buying nonstop, and it's going lower. All right, we're in a trend to the downside.
But here's the thing: are they like? I'm looking at your screen right now, and I'm seeing the volumes over the Is that the daily? I'm seeing the volumes, and it doesn't look like people are buying like crazy to me. But the price is still kind of being buoyed up there.
Yeah, which could be manipulation, obviously, or it could also be the DXY. The DXY seems like it wants to completely finish its bottom. DXY says it's done. Actually, the DXY is kind of pumping today, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, back over 102 right now.
God, man, that thing needs to go up to 122, and then we can get out of this fucking bear market. Like you guys don't understand how bad you need the dollar to go up just so this could be over. But for right now, Bitcoin, obviously, it's under 27K. I've been charting this Elliott wave theory move to the downside. I think we're in a 5-wave move to the downside. Then we'll get a 3-wave correction, then another 5 waves down. And that would be pretty even to this head and shoulders pattern that we're seeing on the macro that's been playing out since January, where we kind of began this entire bullshit move to the upside. And, hopefully it ends somewhere around end of summer. Where we start to go into those lows. Well, yeah, there's a lot more, boys. But yeah, right here, I'm just looking at this. We're in this third wave here, and obviously it's this purple line that I'm checking another wave within a wave. This is where it gets kind of complicated. So we have to keep an eye on. So this might be the first wave. I do expect a bounce, but I do think that we are going to go down to about 25K. I think that there's tons of liquidity. I think it was something like $300 million worth of liquidity from people who were using margin trading, just going like tons of leverage. God bless them because the market makers are doing absolutely what they want at this point. Again, volumes are extremely low. The price still kind of bouncing up here and there, but we're at sub 27K, and a lot of people thought that we were going to 40K, right? 40K was a magnet, pretty weak magnet. But for right now,
damn weak magnet, that's for sure.
Absolutely weak magnet. But I'm looking at this again on the weekly, and we still got tons of room to the downside on the stochastic RSI. The momentum is to the downside. But if we do look at this candle, that's a pretty good candle, right? I'm not upset with that, especially as a bear. That's we're making progress. Eventually, we're gonna have to see a candle red similar to this big green one here. That would make me very happy because my shorts would be very, very pleased to see that. But yeah, for the time being, I think Bitcoin is going to go to 25K, 24, 25K. Worst case scenario, say, and we haven't really talked about this, but the one thing that I've kind of been keeping an eye on is today is the last day that Digital Currency Group has to eventually pay out this huge lump sum that they owe. I think it was like $630 million. They were supposed to be negotiating between the 9th and the 11th. Today is the 11th. I haven't heard anything about it.
You know who they owe some of that money to?
You, motherfucker.
Me.
This
Want
guy.
my money back.
How dare they do this to my guy?
Barry, give me my money back.
Is that Barry Silbert?
Yeah, you ass. Give me my money back.
The Winklevi,
dude. They're out here, they're yucking it up about Pepe, and I just want my damn money back. Like, yeah, Cameron Winklevoss or Tyler, whichever, I can't tell the difference, out on Twitter saying, who's feeling Pepish now that Pepe is on Gemini? Like, bitch, no one's feeling Pepish. Give me my money back.
Yeah, you guys
Jesus.
They fumble the ball with Facebook and they fumble the ball with Gemini, man. Just killing everybody out here. But yeah, it's absolutely insane that no one's really talking about this. And that's a pretty big deal, right? I think it's a big deal. I think that if they,
that's a pretty big deal.
It's a pretty big deal. I sound like Charlie Day now. Nice. But Yeah, it could be fucking sunny in Philadelphia if these motherfuckers don't pay their bills. So I think that could be, a catalyst for us getting to that 25K. But again, there's a good chance that we could also go to 22K. Like it could just be a massive capitulation event. And we could just see exactly what we saw with SIVB on the left side of the chart where we see this massive green candle. Obviously, this was the bounce from it. And, we could get the same thing on the way down. The only thing is, I don't think that this scenario would be there would be a similar scenario on this side and this side. If we did, that'd be absolutely like, what the fuck? That like market makers are just playing with at this point. But I do think 24 to 25K, there's tons of liquidity there from leveraged longs. I think that that's probably going to get tapped before we make a move to the upside. And that'd be in line. Oh, grabbed the wrong wave. That'd be in line with this next move to the upside where we would find probably resistance a little bit lower than that 31K. And that'd be, be how the market's trade. It doesn't go up only. It's got to bounce, it's got to go down, it's got to go up, and then it's got to go down. And we're in a bear market. We're making an impulsive move to the downside. Clearly that we're seeing these red candles that we weren't seeing on the other side. Again, lower volume that we're seeing on the other side too. And we're extremely overbought. So I think that this market's going to go and everything's kind of getting dragged down with it. Like I was looking at XRP maybe about a week ago. I think it was at like 46 cents. Today it was at 41 cents. That's a huge move. Like that's a huge move for some of these coins. And, we were talking about alt season. I'm still waiting for alt season. Like, look, VeChain, we were talking about VeChain yesterday. It was at 2 cents. Now it's at less than 2 cents. It's at like 0.01889. That's pretty, like there's actually significant like drops in some of these coins. So definitely seeing some deals, but at the same time, it's like we're far from being done with this. That's my opinion. That's what I'm seeing in the charts. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. I expect this drop to happen fairly soon. But who knows? Market makers could do whatever they want. They have more money than I do. I'm just a guy who's got a really squeaky voice when he gets upset.
You're just a pawn playing their game. Yeah, I know you focus on the DXY quite a bit. I look at the VIX quite a bit, and to see the VIX at this low of a level right now, with everything else that is going on out there.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice it went back down that much.
It's down under 17.
Fuck.
And like just zoom out further and look at like the all-time numbers. And, we saw something similar to what we saw back in 07 to 09 to, or even in like the early 2010s. Like there is more volatility coming. It's only a matter of time. It has to happen. And when it does, people are going to act like they're surprised because they've just been fed information that things are bullish, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but like it's going to pop again. It's going to pop. It's going to get back into the 40s. The longer we delay it, I think the worse it'll be. And this is another, just like how Disney isn't the end all be all stock, this isn't the end all be all. I'm having a brain fart right now as to what I was trying to say right there. But this isn't the end all be all. It is a data point though, and it's one that we need to look at, and it's one that's telling me that we haven't seen the level of volatility that we're going to need to in order to exit this bear market.
If you put yourself in positions to be hurt, you'll never be disappointed when something bad happens. And I think a lot of people are just lying to themselves thinking that, oh no, I'm just going to believe this data instead because this fits my hypothesis. And, the VIX, that doesn't matter. That's just one indication. Yeah, man, but look at this. Every time something bad happens, the fucking thing goes up like out of nowhere. And we're extremely low, and it's just like a slingshot. This is being pulled back even further at this point. This VIX is going to take off. The DXY is going to take off. They're at, points in where it's the lowest it's been in weeks or months. DXY has been on an absolute correction since September. Like I'm going to pull up the DXY right now because now I'm getting heated. It's good. This is the monthly.
All good, Ace. Thanks for coming by.
DXY. This is September. We hit 114, and look how much it pulled back over the past few months. And if we look at everything, this is still above the 50 moving average and still above the 200 moving average. And we're here on the stochastic RSI, completely oversold. That's the monthly. Go to the weekly. Same story. We're a little bit under the 50, but again, we found we double tapped this support line at 100.845. I think this thing wants to bottom. I think it bottomed. I think this 200 is climbing up soon enough. It's going to be probably right there. If we're trading sideways and the 200 comes with it, and we've been completely oversold for the longest amount of time, and then maybe we get some bad inflation data. Something happens. It's going to happen. And I think this DXY is going to absolutely rip. And, the longer it's been held down, I think this thing could potentially break this high right here at 114. I put this 122 up here a long time ago. I thought that might be a pretty good level it could potentially reach up to just based off of fractals. And I think that if we take out this, we're going to have to go and test this. And I think that would bring us into the end of the bear market. But, we're primed for one hell of at least a good summer, but definitely into the end of this year. I think that the move for the DXY is up and not down.
And with that, I think the move for the VIX is up and not down, because we are at seriously, I don't want to beat this to death, but if you look historically at the VIX, we're at the lowest level. It gets a little bit lower than that, but that is in peak bull market. And then, after that, it was just all back up. So I don't see, I feel like if you watch this, I appreciate everyone who watches this show, and I hope you have a Xanax prescription for how depressing we can be, because it really is bear market time. It's the bad news bears over here with JWeb and Kevin, but we're just trying to be honest, and we want to set ourselves and anyone who listens to us, God bless their souls, to be ready to take advantage of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, you could absolutely make a ton of money in this market. Again, I was shorting at 31K Bitcoin. My shorts are doing pretty well so far. And it's you don't need everything to go up in order to make money. You just have to have conviction and have a good stance on what you believe in, and, tons of data to support your hypothesis, and just stand behind your convictions, because this market will absolutely mess with you and try and fool you into believing something that's not true at all. Honest takes are the best takes, definitely.
Yeah, and if Kevin, according to Jamie Dimon, you're part of the problem here.
Oh, I am.
I really think you need your desire to short the market and see things go down is really the biggest issue here. It's definitely nothing that anyone else has done. It is purely short selling. That's the only problem we're seeing. And manipulation through social media. These fucking people, man. These some of the biggest crooks in the world, and they want to get all high and mighty. I just cannot stand this shit.
It's funny too, because if we're going back to the stock market, I was going to say, what might be a safe bet going forward for at least a few years is when all the banks kind of bottom, maybe buy some bank stocks. Is that you're riding with the devil? Maybe a little bit, but at the same time, it's these fuckers tend to do pretty well when it comes back. Not all. Citibank, that's one that we saw didn't bounce back at all. Maybe you got a little bit of 2-3% gains over the past 20 years. Not bad. But I think that, banks do pretty well. People are always using them. They love giving banks their money because they just want to lose it when it comes to the recessions. So when we're not in a recession, not necessarily a bad idea. People don't, it's almost like trading at this point, right? If you put your money in a bank, but you don't take it out until the entire market collapse, obviously you're going to lose. But if you're taking, money out, profit, you're putting into different parts of the equity market, or, investigate into real estate, stuff like that, where you can actually have different types of assets. So not everything collapses altogether. Then you're doing pretty well. Maybe you should be buying bank stocks, but yeah, I think that's probably going to be pretty well. But do you buy JP Morgan? I don't know. I don't like Jamie Dimon.
No, I don't like Jamie Dimon either.
I won't get a Chase Bank account now. I'm happy with my Bank of America.
Guess the only way for me to get my money is to buy their stock, and then maybe they'll, clear my deposit, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe you get a 2-cent dividend.
God. Christ, I could go on all day about this. All right. I don't think anyone wants to hear that. I think we're going to wrap it for the day. Ace, appreciate you popping in. If you want to listen back, we talked about some growth stocks that we like, or that I like. Yeah, that's really all there is to it. We'll be back tomorrow. We're gonna go ahead.
We're just bearish as shit, man.
I'm so bearish.
I love being a bear. I love it.
And it's just like I said, it's all about patience right now. Just zen, not getting frustrated. Stick to your thesis, and then when things come crumbling down and you can deploy capital, don't victory lap it. Don't showboat it. Just enjoy the ride back up, because that's all you need. That's all you need. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to build more wealth, and that will speak for itself. So we're going to wrap it up for the day. We'll be back tomorrow to close out the week. Appreciate everybody for being here. If you have not already, smash that like button for us. Subscribe to our channel. That means a ton. Drop a comment. Share us out on social media. Any of these things. I don't know about Kev, but I do know Kev. Kev loves doing the show. I love doing the show. The all the research that goes into it makes me a better investor. So I appreciate that. And we're going to be riding this bear market out, and we'll be celebrating in the bull. So appreciate everyone who was here. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.